The dining room glowed with candlelight. The table set for 3. Sandra had insisted on this dinner, her excitement barely contained.
Mark, I have someone I want you to meet. This is my cousin Brian. We just reconnected after years apart.
Cousin. That face. I've seen it before. Not in any family album.
Months earlier, in the quiet of the garage, Mark had stumbled upon a second phone. It had been charging behind paint cans, its screen a window she never meant for him. That same face, the one from the hidden phone, was now sitting 3 feet away, smiling, calling himself a cousin.
That's no cousin. That's him. The one from the photos.
I am so glad you two finally get to meet. Brian has been eager to hear about your work, Mark.
It's a real pleasure, Mark. Sandra talks about you constantly.
Does she now? That's kind of her.
Mark kept his smile steady, his hands perfectly still, but behind his eyes, the storm was already gathering. 3 months earlier, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, Mark had gone into the garage to find a missing wrench. Instead, he found something else. Behind a stack of old paint cans, a faint charging light glowed. A smartphone hidden in plain sight, definitely not Sandra's usual device.
What's this? A phone I've never seen before. Who does it belong to?
The screen flickered on without a passcode. A photo of a man with dark hair and a confident smile filled the background. A stranger.
That face. I've never seen him before. Why would Sandra have a secret phone with his picture?
The messages were intimate. One read, "Can't wait to see you again, Brian." A name he didn't recognize. He scrolled through photos, plans to meet. A separate digital life hidden right under his roof.
How long has this been going on? And who is this man she's hiding from me?
He placed the phone back exactly where he found it, covering it carefully. Confrontation would come, but not yet. From that moment, Mark became a quiet observer. The storm had been brewing for months before that dinner table ever saw a smile. Back in the dining room, Mark leaned forward, his voice calm, his eyes missing nothing. He had waited months for this moment.
So, Brian, tell me about your family. Sandra mentioned you just reconnected. Where did you grow up?
Oh, we moved around a lot. I spent my teens in Ohio. My mom's side is huge. Easy to lose track of cousins, you know?
It's really incredible. Finding family you never knew you had. Brian reached out through one of those DNA sites.
DNA site? She's spinning this on the fly. There's no DNA test, just a hidden phone and 2 years of lies.
The dinner wound down with more careful smiles. As they stood, Sandra touched Brian's arm with a familiarity that stung Mark.
Brian, I have the guest house all ready for you. Let me show you around.
Through the window, Mark watched Sandra lead Brian across the lawn, her laughter carrying on the evening air.
He's not just visiting. She's given him a key to our home. The guest house right under my nose.
The door closed behind them. Mark stood frozen, the guest house now holding more than just a guest. It held a threat he could no longer ignore. By midnight, the house was silent. Mark slipped into the garage and retrieved the hidden phone, its screen glowing like an accusation.
Time to stop watching and start building. Every photo, every message. I'll copy it all.
He photographed the chat logs, the smiling faces frozen in timestamps, the plans that proved it wasn't a mistake, but a life built in shadow. The phone held months of betrayal. Mark saved it all to a secure folder, then returned the device to its hiding spot. Up in his study, Mark opened the laptop. The glow of the screen replaced the candlelight. It was time for the part Sandra never saw coming. He logged into their joint bank accounts. At first, the numbers looked ordinary, until he noticed a recurring withdrawal to a name he'd never seen.
Brian. She's been funneling money to him for months, not just an affair. This is a drain on everything we built.
He printed the statements, circling the incriminating lines with a red pen. Each stroke tightened the knot. By 2 in the morning, Mark had a file. A quiet, damning file that laid out the skeleton of a double life. He wasn't just a wronged husband anymore. He was a man collecting pieces, and he had no intention of stopping. The next morning, while Sandra was out running errands, Mark pulled open the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet. Tucked behind old tax returns was a folder he didn't recognize. Inside, a residential lease, signed by Sandra 2 weeks earlier.
A lease. She signed a lease for him to live in our guest house. This was planned long before the cousin's story.
The lease gave Brian 6 months. The rent line read, "Services rendered." Mark didn't laugh. He photographed the document, then turned back to the laptop. There were more accounts to check, more shadows to illuminate. A forgotten savings account revealed more transfers, small, regular deposits to Brian's name, each just under the bank's alert threshold.
She's been bleeding us dry, one withdrawal at a time to fund his life.
He downloaded the statements, added them to the file. The affair was just the surface. Underneath, she was dismantling their finances. His anger was a cold weight, but he didn't let it surface. He simply placed the lease next to the bank statements, a puzzle finally taking shape. The guest house wasn't a favor. It was a payment, and Mark had the receipts. From his study window, Mark watched Sandra and Brian walk through the garden, their laughter drifting up like smoke from a fire he wasn't supposed to see. Sandra threw her head back laughing, her hand brushing his arm with an ease that spoke of years, not days.
That's not a cousin's touch. That's 2 years of secrecy. Right there in the sunlight.
Then came the silence between laughs, a glance that held too long, as if the rest of the world had fallen away.
They think they're invisible. Every look is a confession I am collecting.
He stepped back, then walked to the kitchen. When they returned, he met them with a tray of cold drinks and a smile that never wavered.
Brian, Sandra. Something cold for the walk. You two look like you've known each other forever.
Oh, Mark, you are so thoughtful. It's just so nice to reconnect.
As she took the glass, her fingers brushed Brian's. Mark saw the tiny, unthinking intimacy. He filed it away with the others. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady. The mask held, and underneath, the resolve turned to iron. That night, alone in his study, Mark didn't just review the phone photos. He dove deeper, scrolling to the very first messages.
These go back 2 years. Not months, years. Every "I miss you," every plan, right under this roof.
The screen glowed with a timeline of betrayal, anniversaries Mark had never known, trips he'd been told were solo. A photo surfaced. Sandra and Brian, arms around each other on a beach, dated 18 months ago.
That work conference in Miami. I drove her to the airport. She kissed me goodbye and got on a plane with him.
Then he found the statement. A credit card in Sandra's name, billing to a P.O. box, charges for hotels, dinners, gifts.
A secret credit card. She's been funding a parallel life with our money.
He added the statement to the file, the paper thin but heavy. Each piece was a nail in the coffin of her lie.
2 years of this. The affair, the money, the guest house. It's a system, not a mistake.
He closed the folder. There would be no more questions, only the cold, patient work of dismantling her deception. The next day, Sandra announced a trip to the grocery store. Mark watched her car disappear, then walked to the guest house, key in hand.
She told me he'd be gone all day. This is my chance to see what's really behind that door.
Inside, the guest house felt permanent. His clothes in the closet, his cologne on the dresser. Not a visit, a move-in. On the nightstand, a wrapped gift with a card in Sandra's handwriting, to Brian, for all the nights that were ours.
Our nights. She's writing love letters in my house, leaving them for a man living under my roof.
In the closet, a jacket with dry cleaning tags, paid from the hidden credit card. Receipts for dinners, flowers, all tucked in pockets. A file folder in the nightstand drawer held rental agreements and utility bills, all in Sandra's name for his previous apartment.
She's been paying his rent for a year. He's been her dependent, not her cousin.
He photographed every page, every receipt, every proof of her hidden financial life, then placed them into his growing file. Back in his study, the evidence file was no longer just suspicion. It was a documented, dismantled double life. That evening, Mark locked his study door and dialed a number he'd found days before. A family law attorney known for discreet surgical divorces.
I need to understand marital waste, and I need to know how to prove it.
The attorney explained. Any joint money spent on an affair, rent, gifts, the credit card, was a drain on the marital estate. Document it, and the court could deduct it from her settlement.
So every receipt, every transfer, it's not just evidence of betrayal. It's a shield for what I've built.
He spent the next 2 hours printing every statement, highlighting every payment to Brian, and organizing them into a timeline. The evidence file became a binder. Tabs for phone records, financial waste, the lease, the guest house inventory.
The attorney said we file when I am ready. But first, I need to be sure Sandra suspects nothing.
The strategy was simple. Maintain the mask, gather final confirmations, and then strike when the case was ironclad. On his laptop, a summary of marital waste, over $40,000 diverted in 2 years. Each entry a paper cut. Mark closed the binder. The law was now on his side, and so was the silence. The countdown had begun. The next morning, a knock on the study door. Sandra's voice too close for comfort.
Mark, you've been locked in there all morning. Is something going on?
Just old paperwork. Tax stuff. You know how it is.
She hesitated, then nodded, retreating down the hall. Mark locked the door this time. That evening at dinner, Brian set down his fork with a grin that carried a hidden agenda.
Sandra and I were thinking of taking a little trip to the coast next week. You'd be fine here, right, Mark?
Under the table, their fingers intertwined, a silent conversation Mark wasn't supposed to see.
A trip together. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Of course. Sounds like a great time for you two.
Beneath the table, Mark's hand clenched into a fist, nails biting into his palm. After dinner, Mark slipped away to the garage, retrieving the hidden phone one final time.
There's something I missed. I need to know the exact date it started.
He opened the call log, scrolling past months of 2-hour conversations, timestamps stretching back 2 years. Over 600 calls. Not a fling, a parallel life.
2 years ago, November. I brought her home from the hospital, and she called him that night.
Then he found the receipt, buried in an old email folder. A hotel booking, one night, dated 2 years ago that week. The confirmation number, the room, his name. The exact point where her betrayal became a choice she never reversed.
Cousin. She gave him a title to hide what he really was. A man she'd chosen over this house, over me, over 20 years.
Mark sat in the dark study, the phone's screen casting long shadows. The last puzzle piece clicked, and the picture was uglier than any suspicion. His jaw set. No more questions. No more waiting. Tomorrow, he would call the attorney and set the final act in motion. Early, the next morning, Mark called his attorney from the locked study. The instructions were clear.
I have enough to prove adultery and marital waste. Over 40,000. File it.
The attorney outlined the next steps, finalized the petition, attach the evidence binder, and serve her before the weekend. Mark opened the laptop and printed every transaction, every statement, every incriminating line of text. He highlighted the transfers, the lease, the credit card charges, each one a deliberate wound to the marriage.
These aren't just papers. They're the price of my silence for 2 years. Now they'll buy me freedom.
A printed email from Sandra to Brian read, "The guest house lease is signed. You'll be close to me soon." Then he pulled up the divorce petition draft. Grounds: adultery, marital waste, evidence attached. The binder was complete. Tabs for phone records, financial waste, the lease, the guest house inventory. Mark closed the binder with a quiet thud. The law was on his side, and tomorrow it would speak. But before the ink could dry, doubt crept in, the ghost of a marriage that once was.
20 years. So many mornings with coffee. So many silent understandings. How did we get here?
He opened a drawer and found a photograph. Sandra laughing, years younger, before the secrets. But then he remembered the hotel receipt, the hidden phone, the 40,000. The photo went back in the drawer.
That woman doesn't exist anymore. She made her choice, and so will I.
He picked up the pen. The divorce petition lay before him, every line a declaration of the life she'd stolen. His signature was steady, final. Then the notary stamp pressed down, an official seal on the end. He scanned the pages, uploaded them to a secure portal, and sent them to his attorney with a single click. The email read, "Petition filed. Please proceed with service." No room for hesitation. Mark sat back. The weight in his chest didn't lift, but it shifted. The next knock on the door would not be for him. Morning light filled the kitchen. Sandra poured coffee, her movements slow, deliberate. Mark stood at the counter, barely touching his cup.
You've been distant for days. Is something wrong?
Just tired. Stress with the finances. Nothing to worry about.
Sandra's fingers tightened around her mug. She didn't believe him.
Is it because of Brian? He mentioned you were a little cold the other night.
Brian, he's fine. I am glad you reconnected.
He turned back to the counter, hands steady, the lie settling between them like a screen.
She's fishing. Any wrong word, and she'll tear apart my act before the papers even arrive.
Without another word, he set his cup down and walked past her, out of the kitchen. Behind him, Sandra stood frozen, suspicion blooming into something she couldn't yet name. He retrieved the binder, sliding the hidden phone into a side pocket. The weight of it was the weight of a decision already made.
The binder is on its way. I need you to file it today.
The attorney's voice was steady. Service by weekend. No turning back now. He set the phone down and stared at the empty study, the space where 20 years of marriage dissolved into paper.
No backing out now. By Sunday, she'll know everything.
He returned home and stood at the window, watching the guest house. Inside, Brian moved about, oblivious, a shadow crossing a room.
She almost caught me this morning. The next move has to be perfect.
He checked his phone. No new messages. The silence was heavier than any noise. Then at 4:17 p.m., an email, petition filed. Service arranged. The countdown was now official. The doorbell rang at exactly 10 in the morning. Sandra, still in her robe, opened the door to a suited man holding a thick envelope. He asked for her by name, then handed the packet over with a practiced neutrality. "You've been served, ma'am." Sandra stared at the envelope, her name typed across the front. Her hands trembled as she tore it open. Inside were divorce papers. The words adultery and marital waste jumped out like accusations printed in bold.
Divorce. Marital waste. He knows. How does he know?
A wave of nausea hit her. She stumbled back from the door, the papers scattering at her feet. Mark stood in the hallway shadows, silent. He watched her crumble, his face unreadable.
Mark. Mark.
He didn't move. The name echoed through the house, but the man she was calling for was no longer the husband she knew. The envelope lay on the floor, its contents bared. The secret was out, and there was no putting it back. Sandra burst into the living room, her eyes wild, clutching the divorce papers. Mark sat calmly on the sofa, a binder open before him.
How could you do this? Without even talking to me.
Talk. We talked every day while you hid a second phone in the garage and called another man cousin.
He gestured to the table. The hidden phone, the lease, the bank statements, all arranged like a museum of her betrayal. Sandra's gaze fell on the phone, Brian's photo staring back, her face crumpled.
That's not what it looks like.
It looks like 2 years of lies, $40,000, and a guest house key you gave a lover while calling him family.
She sank into a chair, her breath shallow. Denial withered under the weight of the evidence.
He has everything. Every message, every receipt. There's no way out.
Mark didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The papers spoke for themselves, and for the first time, Sandra had nothing to say.
2 years. I have the hotel receipt, the credit card statements, the lease you signed for him.
He laid the phone on the table, its screen glowing with the timeline of betrayal.
Over 600 calls. The night I brought you home from the hospital, the first call was to him, $40,000. Every transfer, every gift, recorded. It's all in the filing.
He has everything. There's no argument left.
Brian is not your cousin. He's leaving tonight. You'll deliver the message.
Sandra's shoulders shook, but she didn't argue. The paper in her hand was heavier than any objection.
I expect the guest house empty by morning.
In the guest house, Brian sat on the couch, unaware that his life was about to be dismantled. Through the window, the lights of the guest house glowed, but the shadow of its occupant was already fading. From his study window, Mark watched Sandra cross the lawn, her steps slow and weighted. Inside the guest house, Brian's movements were frantic, clothes thrown into a suitcase without care.
She said Mark filed for divorce. He has proof. I need to get out.
The divorce papers lay on the floor where Sandra had dropped them. The word adultery glaring up within minutes. The suitcase was shut, and the door slammed behind him. Brian threw the last bag into the trunk, his face pale under the street lamp. The engine turned over, and the car rolled down the driveway, its taillights shrinking. Mark stood at the window, expression unreadable, until the red glow vanished. The guest house door stood ajar, the interior bare and silent. The house was his again, but the victory tasted more like ash. Weeks later, Mark stood in the courthouse hallway, the binder of evidence tucked under his arm.
Today, the law will see what I saw. Every receipt, every call, now public.
The courtroom was quiet. The judge reviewed the documents, his gavel heavy on the bench. Financial statements, the lease, the phone records, each marked as exhibit after exhibit. The judgment read, marital waste of $40,000 is deducted from the petitioner's settlement. Sandra's share was slashed. The hidden spending was no longer a secret. It was a line item.
Not revenge, accounting. And the numbers don't lie.
Outside the courtroom, Mark paused on the steps. The sun broke through the clouds. A slight smile crossed his face, not triumph, but the quiet relief of a debt paid. He walked to his car, the binder now a closed chapter. The law had spoken, and so had he. A few days later, Sandra packed a small suitcase, her reduced share in a single bag, her silence heavier than any words. Mark stood in the driveway, his navy polo clean against the morning light. He made no move to stop her. She didn't look back. The car door closed, and the engine faded into the quiet of the neighborhood. For a long moment, Mark just listened to the silence. No hidden phones, no guest house laughter. Inside, the living room felt larger. He sat on the sofa, the same spot where her lies had unraveled.
It's over. No anger left, just space.
He didn't need to fill the silence. For the first time in years, the house belonged only to truth. He glanced out the window. The guest house stood empty, the lawn already growing wild at its edges.
No more secrets. No more waiting. just the rest of my life, on my terms.
He sat back down and let the quiet wrap around him. The house was his, and so was the future. Morning sun fell across the garden. Mark knelt by the tomato plants, his hands working the soil without hurry. The earth smelled fresh, and for the first time in years, his mind wasn't somewhere else. Later, inside, he opened a drawer. A framed wedding photo stared back.
That was another life, not mine anymore.
He placed it in a box and closed the lid. Not with anger, just the quiet closure of a chapter finished. He moved to the window. Across the lawn, the guest house sat still, its emptiness no longer a wound. The driveway was empty. The mailbox held no surprises, just a house and a man. He picked up his coffee and stepped onto the porch. The air was warm, the future unwritten.
I did what I had to do. Now I get to choose whatever comes next.
And for the first time in 2 years, Mark smiled, not tight, not guarded, but genuine, as the sun stretched across his garden.